let's get into the detailed review of the Redmi Watch Active 3 for 30 quid or 35 bucks. Let's do it. So when you pick up this piece, first of all, you notice the sides of the case. It's not plastic that makes it look silvery. No, this is an actual metal finish. Right, so I've got the silver watch with me, or the grey as they call it, very fashionable name. And of course there's a black version. That's it, black, grey. There is no pink, green, nothing like that. Just two colors. Is it enough? I think so. I didn't want the black one because the grey makes it just stand out a bit more. It's not white, it's grey. And it just looks sporty, cool. It doesn't want to be pretend something, it's just that. And I think the color really does suit. Also, let's go back to the watch case. So this is metal finish on the case. It's quite unbelievable. The actual button on the right hand side of the display is also metal. So it's got this metal finish to it. You will notice that there is a slight little hole just under the button. Well, that is the microphone, and we'll talk about it in the features and functions. Also, on the underside of the case, you've got a speaker. So another amazing thing, which we'll also cover later in the features and functions. Now on the underside, you do have the bland grey plastic. Nothing to look at here. What you will notice is that the straps on the underside, they're actually the quick release straps. Now, they are proprietary straps. You can't just go out and get any third-party straps here. They have to fit this watch because they do fit under the watch case, so the lugs don't stick out. And this is a very important cue about this particular design, because it is big, right? The size here is, the height of the watch is 47 millimeters. That's quite a bit. The width of it is 38 millimeters, while the height is 11 millimeters, so just over 1 centimeter. I don't think that's too high. It doesn't catch on any of my shirts when I go off to work, and none of my jumpers when I'm off work, out in the park like now. It's very smooth, it's well rounded. The glass sits on top of the bezel, which is a bit of an interesting design cue, because technically the bezel should protect the glass, but then again, when the glass does look up at you, it looks really cool and expensive. But let's get back to the dimensions, because this is a rather large watch, which does sit on top of my wrist and basically covers it. So I think it was quite an intelligent styling decisions here to put the bands attached to the actual case, and not on the sides of the case, but actually under the case, to just save on that lug to lug distance and make sure that it covers basically any wrist size, from the very slender to the very wide. Now that I have been wearing the watch for quite some time, I can say that yes, this strap is super comfy. It is TPU rubber. It's made to be silicone. Well, what is silicone? It is a type of TPU rubber. So it is very soft. It's very flexible. It does have that very subdued and velvety feel to it. Now, I've been wearing it non-stop for the past week, ever since I got it. As you can see on my wrist, there's no marks of any kind, no kind of irritations, nothing like that. And I have actually been wearing this watch, well, to the pool, at the gym. I have been wearing it to the showers. I just don't take them off. And they are waterproof, so 580 and waterproof. So you shouldn't go diving with them, but you can go for a swim. You can take them to the showers because they are splash proof. If we talk about the strap, I like it. I think it's comfortable. It looks great, but I don't love the clasp, simply because I enjoy the classic watch type buckle clasps. They are the easiest to use, but then again, they're not the prettiest. What we have here is a clip and tuck clasp. So yeah, it's quite easy to do, but then again, it's just not as convenient if you need to quickly take off your band off and put it back on. So again, I think the styling is great, but functionality would have been better with a buckle clasp. There is no logo of any kind on the watch case nor the strap, which is a bit of a minus, and at the same time, well, why? It's not pretending to be a luxury smart tracker. No, it's just a budget fitness tracker, which looks great as it is. It doesn't need to pretend to be something that it's not. Anyways, I think we've talked about the design of this piece enough. Now let's get into the display, because there's plenty to talk about. So finally we can talk about the display, because there's a lot to talk about. 1.83 inch, not AMOLED though, LCD display. What's the difference between LCD and AMOLED? Well, usually the AMOLEDs just have more blink colors. The blacks are much more deep on an AMOLED panel. Well, the LCD panel used here is of a very high quality. And I'm not just saying it because it's a cheap watch. No, I do really think the quality here is amazing, because if I didn't read up on the fact that this is an LCD panel, I would have thought it's actually AMOLED. The blacks are very deep. You can hardly see any difference between the black bezel and then of course the actual screen, the LCD panel. So it's really good quality. The colors do just pop out of there. So have a look at this fluorescent yellow on this black screen. It's just amazing. So that's pretty good. It does have Gorilla Glass on top, so it is sort of scratch resistant. There are 200 faces to download and they're all free. Yes, I think some brands like Huawei need to learn about free faces, because nobody's going to go and pay $2-3 for a watch face, especially when you probably want to switch them over very often. Now, I did find a little bit of a problem here with the watch faces. So you can store up to 5 on your watch. And considering that the first 3 are the preset watch faces and you can't remove them later, you can only download 2 faces from the app at a time. Now, I think that's a bit of a downer, because I would probably get rid of the preset watch faces. They're not exciting at all. If we talk about the auto brightness, there's none. A bit of a shame, but then again, considering the price, I get it. Now, you do have a gauge which you can slide up and down to vary your brightness, and that seems like a pretty good solution. You know, nothing to shout about, but it's decent, it works. Now, if we talk about the brightness here, you only get 450 nits. I say only because other budget trackers like Huawei Band 8, it goes up to 550 nits of brightness. So a little bit better there, in the rounds of 20% better. Then of course we've got the Xiaomi Mi Band 7 and 8, which have about 600 nits of brightness, so even more bright. So 450 could be better, I think. But let's be fair, I've had this watch on for a week and I've had it in direct sunlight, I've had it inside, now out in the forest. And what can I say? It is bright enough. There is no problem with having a look, deciphering any values on this display. None whatsoever. The colors are bright, they do pop, which is great. So we do get 240 by 280 pixels here, so this is a high resolution display. What I do want to center your attention on is the animations of the actual things like your heart rate, your SpO2. So we know how they're usually presented on budget smartwatches, budget fitness trackers. You just get bar charts. Well, here they're also sort of bar charts, but they have this 3D effect to them. So they look just much more luxurious, much better. I love it. I really do. I think this watch is such a surprise to the market as a whole. It offers so much more than it costs. And it's not here. I'm not advertising this watch. I went out and bought it for my own dosh. It's just that I love budget trackers. And this thing is almost as good, as in 2021 when the Huawei Band 6 came out. That tracker was just boom. It was amazing. Had a massive 1.47 inch AMOLED display. Here though, 1.83. So this is the biggest display you will find on any tracker out there today. The only trackers that might have bigger faces or bigger displays, they're not trackers anymore. They're full-on smartwatches from the leading brands out there, from the likes of Samsung, Apple, and so forth. Anyways, that's all about the display. Now, let's talk about the features and functions, because there's also plenty to talk about. Why do we need a fitness tracker? Well, obviously to get more fit, to get more healthy, or to monitor our fitness progress as well as our general health metrics. Well, with this watch, it's going to be rather easy because on the underside, you get quite a decent optical heart rate sensor. I say decent because I've noticed that it does slightly go out of sync with my Polar H10 ECG chest strap. Not by much, we're out by about 5-10%, especially in high intensity activities. But I will be doing a heart rate accuracy test of this watch, so make sure you do hit that red subscribe button below the video and tune in to watch that video. Now, this watch does get 100 sport modes. That's massive. That's more than you will ever need, really. Like, I usually use this watch for my running outdoors, my treadmill running, walking outside. But then again, when we are talking about outside activities like running, cycling, or walking, this thing does not have inbuilt GPS. Hence, you still need your smartphone connected via Bluetooth to use the GPS on your smartphone, actually measure the distance, the speed, and so forth. But it does count your steps quite accurately, which is a plus. So it also has continuous SpO2 monitoring. What I do like here is that you can vary the periodicity at which it measures your heart rate and your SpO2, because that does save battery juice. Since we're talking about battery, let me just mention that Redmi does tell us that this watch in typical usage lasts about 12 days. That's baloney. It doesn't. So I've had this watch for a week, which I've been wearing ever since I got it last Saturday. Today's another Saturday, so 1 week has gone by. And I've had to charge this watch twice. So all the way to full, all the way down, all the way up, and now today, while I'm doing this review, I'm already down to 19%. So hopefully I'll be able to do the B-roll before the watch dies. So with typical usage, you're looking at about 3-4 days. Now that's a bit of a bummer, because usually if the manufacturer tells us, well, the typical usage, you can get about 10 days, you take about 30% off and you'll, be in the ballpark of where reality meets. But here we've been told 12 days, but actually it's down to 4. That's like a third of the way there. So not too impressed. But anyways, let's get back to the features and functions, because there are plenty more. When we were talking about the design of this tracker, we mentioned that there was a little hole just under the button. Well, that hole is actually a microphone. That's right, so you can speak into this watch. And on the underside of the watch case, you've got a speaker. Is there an AI assistant? No, there isn't. And again, it's a bit of a downer, considering that usually all Xiaomi watches, trackers do get at least Amazon's Alexa. But here, there's none. Okay, well, in that case, why do we need a speaker? And why do we need a microphone? Well, we can actually do Bluetooth calls. So when your watch is connected to your smartphone and you don't want to pull it out for some reason, you can actually take calls right off your wrist. So there's no place for a SIM or an eSIM on here. No, it's only when you're connected to a smartphone, you can just pick up your wrist and talk right off it and into it. So that is pretty cool. Now, the speaker I've tried is not the best quality out there. The microphone is also not the best one. It doesn't do any noise cancellation. So when you're walking around in a loud street, the person on the other side, so on the other line, will be hearing everything around you. So unless you're in a park like this one, where there's beautiful sounds of birds chirping away, but you're on the street and there's hooting of the cars and there's just driving noises, the person on the other line is not going to have fun. But hey, Bluetooth calls on a watch for 35 bucks, I think it doesn't get any better than that anyway. So we talked about the sport modes. I did mention that it is 5 ATM water resistance, which is great. So it is splash proof. You can take it to the pool. I know I have. It still works just fine. So no issues there. Now I want to focus your attention on sleep. So it does actually track your deep light and REM sleep, but on top of that, it tracks your naps, which is great. So as long as they're over, I think 20 or 30 minutes, this watch will track them. I don't usually have naps, so I can't quite measure if it does work. But I want to talk about the display, about the sleep, because when you click into the screen, you're going to see a full breakdown chart, something that you will see on other trackers and fitness watches from any brand out there. If you want this level of detail, you need to go to the app, and that's annoying. So I would love to look at my sleep patterns more closely, but I just can't be bothered going to the app all the time. Well, here you don't have to. It's all right there on the screen of this watch. So that is something I haven't seen on other trackers. So this is very cool indeed. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.